All right, and we're live. First try, first time in a while we've gotten it easy. And welcome everybody. I'm Rusty. This is the Stunt Hangar Aeromodeling Hangouts we have every Monday and Friday night. We're here to talk about aeromodeling for the next couple of hours. Probably, well, let's see, Monday nights, we might take it on until midnight or so, maybe later if the diehards are really going at it. And looks like we've already got Mr. Tom Rammel joining us. Got a few people over on the tube. And how you doing tonight, Tom?
I'm doing great, Rusty. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Got all the links posted in the usual places, meaning if you go over to stunthangar.com control line forums and log in as a member, you can go to the at the bench thread and click in there with your microphone and camera. In lieu of that, if you're not a member, or if you'd rather just watch from the YouTube side and use the chat box, then go to the Stunt Hangar YouTube page, and the stream is live there. You can communicate with us via chat box, and just keep it family friendly. That's all we ask. And we'll sit here and talk about airplanes and stuff. And it looks like all our airplane people are showing up. Hey, John.
How you doing?
I'm all right for a Monday night. Under the circumstances, pretty good, I guess. I started trying to hook up the show about 2.5 hours early tonight, and it only took me about 30 or 35 tries to get a streamer. And when I latched onto it, bang, I locked her down. And so far it hadn't turned off. So, and now, it always turns itself off a couple of hours into the show, right about between 11 and 12 o'clock. And just hoping that when it does that, it won't be any trouble to get it back. But anyway, you're with us now. Here comes Bill Cool. Hey, Bill.
Hi.
Welcome to Monday night. And I don't have any. Oh, that's a telephone in the background. Anyway, I hope y'all have been taking a look at the nats on the YouTube channel, because I have not had much opportunity to look at it. I know that Bill Davis put together a little musical walkthrough of the concourse, which we'd already seen that in its raw form, and hadn't been able to watch any flying or scores or anything.
I'm kind of busy.
I'm going to depend on y'all for that kind of stuff. But anyway,
I'd rather you didn't. Thank you.
I watched the stuff that Sparky did live from the Nats.
I watched most of what Mike had done live, and
I got to look at stuff that came about. What interested me and what didn't.
Is there any combat up yet?
I heard it.
yeah, Mike had some. And then there was a video of Sam and that what's his name, Liam, the 5-year-old kid. They were
Liam is Derek Barry's son.
Ringmaster combat.
Oh, cool. I got such a cool picture of two ringmasters in combat colliding in midair with just parts flying everywhere on my Windows desktop slideshow. Every time it comes up, I like to stop and look at all of the raining pieces of airplane coming down. There's a lot of that in combat. Pretty spectacular sport.
You think?
If I was a young dude, I'd be trying it, but that's way past my abilities now.
I can remember trying to get more flying time when the outboard wing got taken off my ringmaster, I'd go back up on just the inboard wing. It was hard to fly, but you could, you got more airtime.
It ought to fly on the inboard wing if you can keep it. If you can just keep it in the air and keep it tight.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough flying on just the outboard, though.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of hard. Yeah.
It wants to roll in, At least on the inboard, it wants to roll out.
Yeah, kind of would, wouldn't it?
So I was flying my Buster tonight. I put some new plywood on where the bolts were. That was kind of soft there, so I put new plywood there, and then I put in 632 bolts with huge blind nuts, and then I put on some fiberglass cloth, and then I painted the whole thing with epoxy, class coat epoxy. Well, the motor doesn't vibrate. I mean, it doesn't come loose now. I think it still vibrates some, but it's tight in there, but it still don't run worth crap.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of motor you got on that?
It's a Fox. No, it says 35 on it, but it's a Combat.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's 35 or 36, but it's. So what it did, it ran, real fast for a while, and then I kind of pulled up. I did a loop, and then it kind of started starving out, but it made it through that. And then it started running slow, but I don't think it was too rich. I think maybe it was getting hot.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
if it had been running fast,
sounds like it was too
it might have
lean.
been seasoned a little bit.
Sounds like it was too lean.
So then I tried to richen it up and tried again, and then it was quitting, but it seemed like it was hot. I just wonder if that motor doesn't have so much varnish, in it from sitting for all those years that it needs to be cleaned out somehow.
It may not run at all if you clean all the varnish out.
That's the thing. Yeah, you lose your fitment, both in the compression side with the piston and liner, plus your bearings too. So if you devarnish one, you're looking for trouble.
Oh,
Why don't you? What kind of are you using? Fuel with any synthetic oil in it?
yeah, it's that Broadec fuel, 10% nitro.
And some synthetic and some castor.
I believe so.
That ought to be all right. But I think, if an old engine's been sitting, it might have lived its entire life on pure castor, and anything you do to remove that castor is risky. But on the other hand, they start to load up if they get too much varnish. So I don't know. I'm not an expert on those old steel engines.
Yeah. Now it appears that OS, fits the same hole pattern. But I know I'd gotten advice about having a bushing put in that before I run it. Didn't somebody here tell me that?
Could have. It's hard to remember now, though. Jeff Riley is out there on YouTube saying you probably could, if it's a 36X, then you could probably put it on a bladder and have it run a lot. It would be a lot more dependable and steady running. Another thing to check on an engine that's been sitting up for a long time on a Fox. I don't know about the other Steelies, but I know that the conrod will get castor oil glued to the wrist pin, and before you put it to any serious use, you need to heat that cylinder and rod up. Piston and rod up, and get the wrist pin to where it slides back and forth, and it's not actually gripping and turning the wrist pin and working on the holes in the sides of the piston. because that'll egg out the holes in the side of the piston. That could be causing some problem if it's been a shelf queen for a long, long time, especially a pure caster fed shelf queen. You know what I'm talking about?
Sort of, but not really.
Okay, I'd take the engine, take the back plate off and turn it upside down and put it in a vise. Not tight, but just to hold it. And then fill up the piston with WD-40 or some kind of solvent and heat it with a, heat it with a hot air gun as hot as you can until you see the oil or solvent start to smoking, and then reach in there with some needle nose pliers and grab the piston rod and try to move it back and forth. And if it's stuck to the wrist pin, then you'll feel it when it breaks loose and it'll slide freely. Otherwise, it's turning that wrist pin every time it turns during every cycle of its engine run, and you don't want that to happen. And that does get glued. The wrist pin and the hole and the con rod do get glued together when they sit for years and years on the shelf. And that'll melt any caster that's holding it together. And that would cause you some engine run problems if that's happening, but it could have possibly not done some damage. But take a look at that. It's just a matter of pulling the back plate off, flipping it so the piston's upside down like a open coffee cup, fill it up with solvent, heat it, and work that rod back and forth until you know it's sliding easily on the gudgeon pin or the wrist pin. If you're an old guy, you'll call it a gudgeon pin.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody said that with the new motor, I should send it to a Randy Smith.
That was me.
Yeah. I wonder if if I could ask him about both engines.
I don't see why not.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, I bought another plane.
Oh man, we got you hooked on control line, huh? Super
Yeah.
clown.
Yeah.
Is that an ARF or a kit?
It's an ARF. It's the electric version. And I bought all their components. I mean, I got their motor and timer and everything. And it looks like the major work is, hinging things. Got to hinge the flaps and the elevator and that.
Yeah, and go through and look at the controls where the bell crank and the lead outs and all are put together and make sure it all looks secure. And put it together and fly.
I think that's a great choice for your next step up, Bill.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was flying at the Nats Vincent's plane. It was a Barnstormer with a little OS 15 or something like that. And the motor was just running a little bit, different, throughout the flight. And my goodness, I was just like, just scared shitless. Pardon my French, that it was gonna quit on me, right? And I wasn't trusting it 100%. I had fun with it, It was fun to fly plane, and don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed the experience. But I came to realize like how much I really appreciate the electric motor run, which is just absolutely trouble-free and worry-free.
I know I flew my two electrics this morning. Then I got out the Buster this evening and fiddled with that. I got 2 flights in, not good. And then I got out my 15 size electric and I flew that again. Boy, that is pretty nice.
Hey, Mike Leinke threw in a suggestion on the Fox or a comment. He's over on YouTube right now, and he's saying if you ran that Fox, if you ran that Fox on 50-50 fuel then it probably washed all the caster out of it, and it's a paperweight now.
Yeah.
I hope not, but it's a possibility. He said 36X will not run on that fuel for long.
You know, there's an engine that not a lot of people think about for stunt, but for where you're at, you could get hold of Mecoa, MECOA, Mecoa. They make they buy up a lot of companies that are discontinuing or whatever. One of them they bought up was KMB, and they make the KMB Sportster, which was a very simple engine. It came in a 20 and 28 and a 65 size. The 28 I found on a plane like your Buster or a Ringmaster or something along Twister, things like that, runs really well. You just run it in a fat 2-cycle and away you go. And very, very trouble free. They don't cost very much either. So you might go online and look at them at least.
I've never done business with Macoa. I know at one time people would say bad things about them over on the forums, but I don't know how much of that's true and how much of it's just idle know-it-allness.
Well, there were times, I suppose, when he was a little slow on delivery, but I think that's pretty well taken care of. I think he's got more organization going there.
Yeah. Yeah, it ain't easy starting up your own cottage industry home business, which
Yeah.
I guess that's what that is.
Well, it's more than that. He actually has a factory, a building, and it's getting, he's got barrels and barrels and barrels of parts from these discontinued companies that he bought. He's making new parts, and there's a lot of logistics going on there. I know my friend Glenn Dye, who's a very good machinist, used to go over there quite a bit to help him try to catch up on stuff. So I think he's got the KMB's 20s and 28s going along pretty good. You don't have to, so that's why I suggested I ran a KMB 28 on a 40-ounce SIG Fancherized Twister.
Here we go.
Actually won contests with it as heavy as it was. But that was in the Midwest where I had fatter air.
Yeah. Oh, Mike is talking about.
Well, I am, but
Mike said he took 4th place, and Sam took 4th place in Cafe, and Mike
Combat,
says he took 4th place in Nelson Fast Combat.
Cool. Trying to figure out what Trajan's doing there. I'm getting dizzy watching him.
It's too
Mike,
freaking
by the
hot
way,
in the
Jay,
garage.
I agree with too. Is that
Congratulations
Bill?
on your win there, advanced.
Yeah.
He said something I agree with to Bill, and that Bill, you just need a LA 46, a modern OSLA engine, a 25, 46, whatever size plane you're flying. I'm not sure what that clown will take. That'd probably be an LA 25 on the clown, but
Yeah.
wow, that is a shrill sound in the background.
How you doing, Phil?
doing great. How are you, John?
Doing good. How's everything in North Carolina? I believe it is.
Hot, very hot.
How hot is it?
It's hot enough. I gave up and came back inside. That's how hot it is.
Sorry, guys, I'm back.
Trey,
Harold Wimmer's out there watching us, and he's talking about engines too. And he said if you reintroduce the 36X to all caster, it might improve after a bit of running, like something like some of his old engines after getting devarnished with synthetic. Maybe hope for it.
Yeah. Tran, congratulations. I don't know if you heard me say that earlier.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You did well.
Yeah, man.
Me too.
Now if I go to the nets and fly advanced, I don't have to fly against you.
That's it. We don't have to worry about Trayan. Bump him up, get him out of the way.
Yeah, if he's got a big footprint on his butt
What?
now.
I don't know what went through my head to win advance. Now I'm in a pool of hungry, angry sharks over there.
Yeah.
You become a bottom feeding scum sucker.
I don't think he'll be on the bottom. I watched his flight. I don't think he's going to be on the bottom. He might be mid-range bottom feeding scum sucker, but he'll be a mid-range.
Yeah.
Like they'll tell you, you don't have to go if you don't want to, but people will be pressing you to, I think.
Yeah,
No, I'm pretty sure I would have made the cut in Open to Fly on Friday, at least in the top 20.
Yeah.
Would I be conservative?
I think you'd have made it. Your scores would have made it, I believe.
Yeah.
I watched the rest of this flight though, and that was really good.
Boy, he did put up a good flight, didn't he?
Oh my God! Speaking of which, I was watching his flight too. It was just perfection. Okay, and I was watching the other competitors' flights, and I said, "There's no way there's 2 points difference between Orestes and the other guys. No way." So
it was
then
tight.
I was thinking about. I was like, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Well, he sure has improved, but he's been flying that same design for years now, and there's not a lot of change to that plane. It's the lead outs are not adjustable. The weight box, unless he's done something to his different. The only one that I'm familiar with is Kent Tyser's, and the lead outs are not adjustable. The tip weight is not adjustable. But if you fly that plane a few times, you will like it. But I want to try the Revolution. I think that's going to be the hot shoe.
Did you notice the way Walker entered into the outside square? That's the big talk on the. That's the big talk on the forum right now. Apparently it's legal. He's climbing to the 45, leveling at the 45, and then starting. This is over here is where the first turn is. That's where it starts. And he's bleeding off speed, which makes it a lot easier to fly that square maneuver.
Yeah. I couldn't believe he got DQ'd for laying down his handle too soon. His helper didn't have hold of the airplane.
Did he lay it down? Did he lay it down?
That's what I was told. Now, I didn't see it, but Sparky was doing the commentary, and he said that he got zeroed for laying the handle down before his helper had a hold of the airplane.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion on that.
No, that's a DQ. It's clear.
Yeah,
but I didn't see it happen, but that's what I heard he got the zero for.
Yeah, well, a lot of guys are trying to find out exactly what happened so that they're flying electric. They don't want to make the same mistake.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I about got caught for that, and the guy says, "Wait a minute, I ain't there yet." And he went over and pulled the plug out, and he showed the judges that he had the safety plug. So
you need a signal between your pit man, yourself, and you show the judges.
Your pitman needs to know exactly what to do and follow the damn instructions.
Well, that's true, Tran. But
Simple as
sometimes
that.
at the contest, if your usual pit man is doing something else and you have to get somebody, it's hard to get somebody to understand when once you pull the plug out of that thing, show the judge you pulled it. And
Mike says no, he changed hands. He never laid it down.
Oh, you just changed hands? I didn't know that.
That's why the big question is there. Did he change hands? Was it because he took off the safety thong? But you see, if you change hands, you've never given up control of the airplane. That's why
Mike says he swapped hands, never laid it down. Mike says I was there.
Wow.
So that's why we need to get that somebody to make comment and finalize the rules actually say on that, so that other people don't accidentally or on purpose or whatever get DQ'd on future flying electrics.
Yeah.
Electrics have a little more that they have to do than an IC as far as for the flight.
I see.
Well, I mean, when
After
an
you
IC,
land,
it's dead. Yeah. Once it
Yeah.
lands, it's dead. The electric can come back to life. But golly, Paul Walker getting DQ'd for that.
you know,
Fortunately, it didn't make
tech-
any difference.
but
No.
technically, the electric will not come to life unless you do
No.
something stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, just if that timer commands the motor to be shut down and stop, the motors get shut down and stop.
And you have
Unless
to
you
unplug the
restart the switch or replug the battery in or something like that, it's not
Yeah.
going to restart. I think it's
Yeah,
just it is this safety paranoia bullshit, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know,
I
even I
think
was
My
was
plane won't restart by just pushing the button. Mine, you have to unplug the battery and plug it back in.
I think
That's
it's a
what I
little,
was questioning. Why would that do it?
I think it's a little bit different than the whole thing. I think it's IC guys trying to make it harder on the electric guys because the electric, I believe, is superior to the IC.
I think it is too.
And so they're just trying to, it's like remember when pipes came about?
Oh God.
Remember when they started with the pipes and all of the BS that was going on? Imagine when they went to IC from rubber bands, they probably had a heck of a lot of problems.
I would not be surprised if there's not a little bit of bias against even my model.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's molded. Yeah.
Yeah, and
but I still want one. I don't care. I
Yeah.
still want one of those. That is a great airplane. That thing. I saw him fly. I saw him fly 2 years ago, and it didn't look quite like it does now. It was. It looks a lot crisper now. In the videos I saw of you flying it, you look much crisper than you did at Huntersville 2 years ago, and it impressed the heck out of me 2 years ago. So now that is quite an airplane. You've really refined that thing. You've done something because it sure is crisp.
You know what? And it was not crisp at all, because after that, or Friday after the contest, I spent time with Matthew Cullen and Joe Gilbert, and
if you got Joe on it, you got good help.
Yeah. So Matthew put flight after flight after flight. We started with one flight to just get, and he said, "Oh, let's do this, let's do that," and we start trimming the plane, and we found a bunch of stuff, in it, like we took about at least 30% out of the flaps throw, and we reduced that. On the motor run, we took the sensitivity from 55 to 30. Because the plane would accelerate on upline in windy conditions instead of staying nice and composed and constant in the speed, right? It would speed up faster and faster and faster, and that's what hurt me on the qualifying runs. I didn't know that, so they spent time just changing some motor runs, some sensitivity. We put a new handle in it, a little bit wider spacing on the handle, which made it a lot easier to put inputs in up and down and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's the point where I was like, why didn't I have this plane during the because right now it's freaking unbelievable.
Yeah, you win with it and then improve it after you win with it. You really think, golly. Yeah, I tell you what, I can't wait to see it at Huntersville and Atlanta. Plan to come to both.
Okay.
So we're gonna get down to see you and take a look at that thing again.
Yeah.
But if it's better than it was, Trey, and I got to see this, that's some
I like the trim.
Seriously, it's better.
I like the trim you did on it in the bright colors with the black background. Makes it kind of pop.
It does. It looks great.
Yeah. So, did you see Vince's flights? Vince Bowdine's flights?
I don't know Vince, so I don't know.
It was a red plane, all red plane kind of thing.
Well, the red one I saw, I remember the Turbo Raven fly. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, the I don't know what the plane is, but I think I did see one of his flights because Sparky followed it.
Mhm.
It looked pretty good. He looked good, but not as crisp as you did.
Yeah. So yeah, because I think like, how did he end up 1 point adrift of my scores?
Now that you can't tell watching a video with Sparky shooting it with a the telephone, because you know Sparky's over here and the plane's over here, so I'd lose a couple. You lose a lot. You'd have to be there to judge that.
Yeah,
I've done a lot of judging. In fact, for years there was 5 years there I didn't fly much, and but I did go to the contest and judge, and Lordy mercy, some of those guys you have to really pay attention because you wonder how did he beat him, and then you get your paper out and you sit there and really do the paperwork and add it up. I don't know how it didn't overall it didn't look like it, but when you judge those maneuvers, he got a point better here and 2 points better there, and he did win. So, you know, people say, "Oh, there's no way," but really look at it and really judge it sometimes. And those judges they're being fair. They're trying to. Most of them are trying. If I go to a contest and somebody's there that I got something against or I really don't want to judge, I'll just tell them I can't do it because they put me in another class because I'm not going to judge him. But some of the people really believe that the judges are down on them. And, oh, I scored that way because this judge or that judge don't like me. Oh, he's an East Coaster and I'm a West Coaster and they got a great. No, that's punk. If you're doing that, you're out there for the wrong reason.
I've experienced.
You know what I would really love to know? I would really love to know, where to improve, how to do. I would really love to see people being allowed to see the judges warm up,
Yeah.
and also be allowed to listen to what they have to say over there in their little, group meeting, whatever it is, right? I think it's just fair, and everybody can do it or not do it if they choose not to do it.
Yeah.
Because
I'll tell you what, I've seen one guy that missed the boat worse than anybody I've ever seen miss. Wendy Ertnowski had 4 top flyers: Big Art, Bob Palmer, George Aldrich, and I've forgotten who the 4th one was. At Brodak,
Jimmy Cassell?
No.
Okay.
But we were at Brodak, and they wanted him to go in the kitchen or in the dining room and play the tape back of his flight and let us show you where you're losing points, because he kept being number 2 at the Nats, number 3 at the Nats. He was always top 5, but he didn't win.
He made a whole bunch of number 4s.
5s.
Yeah, but he was losing by 3 and 4 points.
Yeah.
And these guys said, I can tell you how to pick up 10 points if you'll listen. He would not go in the house. Now, I'm hard-headed, guys, but dang, you don't have to hit me with a truck. That's ridiculous. You got Bob Palmer and George Aldrich going to critique you and tell you how to make up, and Big Art going to tell you how to make up 10 points, not 1, 10. He was losing by 4.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. I said, Wendy, I think the world of you, but you were the hard-headedest son of a gun I have ever met.
we had a guy here that was like that. He'd go practice by himself. We'd be flying. We'd be flying at the high school on the soccer field. He'd go in the football area where they had all, so we couldn't see him and all of that. And that's where he'd practice by himself. And he practiced so he got his mistakes perfect.
Yeah.
And he would not listen to us. And he couldn't understand why he thought he was flying perfect flights and we were beating him. Yeah,
when I came back, like I said, I took 5 years off. And when I went back, I started going out to Hobby Park and flying by myself a lot, self-launcher, the whole bit. My wife would go out there sometimes. And I go out, and I thought I was really doing well. So I went out one Saturday and flew with Tommy, and when I landed, he's shaking his head. He said, boy, we got a lot of work to do. So what's the matter, Tommy? He says, your pullouts are at 3 feet. He says, you remember when Tom Dixon come up here to fly in the contest, and I forgot the gentleman's name. I'll think of it in a minute, but he helped write the book on the rules and used to live here. And he talked to Tom Dixon, and after the contest, Tom says, why in the world are my scores so low? He says, well, your pullouts, Tom. What do you mean? He said, I'm pulling out at 4 feet. He says, no, you're pulling out at 2 and 3 feet. It's impressive as heck, but it ain't by the book. And that's, that was it. That's what I was doing. I was flying real low. And I couldn't get it through my head that I was flying that low until I pulled out and just felt something in the handle. And I landed, I had skinned the top of my rudder. And I said, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. So Tommy says, I'm telling you, you're flying too low. So Loop is not a real tall guy. And he says, I'm going to hold this up at 4 feet or as close as I can guess, right dead downwind. And you try to hit this yellow mark. It was a yellow piece of paper is what it was. And I flew and I said, oh my goodness. And I noticed, and I'm flying below his belt buckle. I said, okay. I landed that time. I said, all right, Tommy, this is going to be as hard as bringing them down was. And it was.
Mhm.
You get used to flying too low and practice with yourself too much. Just like you say, you practice in those mistakes and it's hard as heck to lose them.
Yep, you get them perfect.
Yeah, I got them perfect, all right. Perfectly wrong. But
So it should be easier to pull them up a little bit rather than bring them down.
it was with somebody beating on my head. But Tommy threatened to literally beat on my head. He may be a little guy, but he knows how to climb trees.
Well, he gets those darn pole climbing spikes on you, ain't got a chance.
Lord, I'm telling you what. That's one thing. When I retired, one of the guys said, "You're gonna miss being a lineman." I said, "I've never put another pair of pole climbers on in my life. I don't care. I'm done." I fell off one of them things from 30 feet, and your natural tendency is to grab the pole with both arms and try to stop yourself.
Ow.
What you should do is push away from the fool thing, but everything in you tells you to grab hold. But oh boy, I'm telling you what, 130-foot fall. Thank goodness it's been raining. The ground was fairly soft, but 130-foot fall is enough to make you decide. You know, I really need to let the young fellas learn how to do this.
I used to do vinyl siding, and I fell off a 30-foot step or extension ladder one time. But I was only on the second rung at the time, so I was all right.
I'm telling you what, it ain't the fall that hurts. It's that sudden stop. That thing will get you every time.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that was enough. Oh Lord, I wanted to ask John something tonight, and I can't remember what it was. It's getting old. CRS is real. Can't remember stuff.
Oh, I know. Was it about the LE or?
I don't remember. I don't even remember what it was about. I'm working on so many things. I told y'all earlier I had like 9 planes that I need to finish. Well, Mama has put her foot down. I got to start painting. So I'm looking over here at the Ringmaster that I've got primed, and about half of it sanded off. I'm going to try to finish the little Ringmaster, and then I've got a Ringmaster 576 downstairs. Got to do that, and then I've got like 7 other airplanes to finish. But I'm trying like heck to have something new to take to Atlanta this year. That's just 5 weeks away. So,
Yeah.
Don't you want to fly something better than the Ringmaster?
well, you got a Ringmaster class, Trayan. You flying a modern pattern, flying a Ringmaster in a modern pattern, and this one looks to be it's going to be real light. If it just that don't mean it's straight.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay, cool.
So it should be a fun event. I don't know.
Oh,
We'll
I see. Bring one for me.
Well, you can fly mine.
I'll fly yours. Cool. That's fun. I'm looking forward. It's fun.
Yeah.
You done proved you know how to do it.
Yeah. John, have you ever heard anybody taking a modern FP? And this is a 25 that's probably got 800 flights on it, on a Ringmaster, and changing it over to no nitro? It flies well. It flies hot, but it flies well. It gets really hot.
Does it get hot? No,
It does. It gets a lot hotter.
Because the nitro is an oxidized.
Nitro cools it.
Nitro cools it, though. You fly that thing one time on 5%, and you hit it with a thermostat, and I don't remember what the readings were, but anyway, you land it and hit it with a thermostat on no nitro. That thing's 30 degrees warmer.
Really?
I said, my heavens.
Well,
I thought it was hot before.
I know most engines that are built anywhere in the world except for the United States, and maybe some of them in Great Britain, are built and designed for no nitro.
Yeah. Well, that's what one of the guys was saying. This motor comes from Japan, and over there they fly no nitro.
That's right.
My only question is, how in the world does Casminato and those guys that fly tuned pipes, how do they not burn up the pipes? Wow, that's a lot of heat.
Well, I'm sure that they're probably running some nitro if they're at Casminato's level. You know, they can get it. It's just, expensive.
Yeah.
I think, I found with the stalkers, I don't feel a lack of horsepower anywhere with those engines on no nitro, though other people seem to feel so, and they ruin their engines by trying to modify it to run nitro. And I try to intervene before they ruin the engine, and I just try to buy it from them. Say, you don't like it, here's some money, go buy one you like. I'll take that one. But if they take a magic Dremel to it, I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't want anything that's been dremeled. Tom Dixon knows how to do it. Randy Smith, I think, softens them up too much, but they do run really well. They just run a little softer. But after finding out that you can run these things the way they come, and they run like a built motor, they just run on no nitro. So once I found that out, I said, hey, I've got a couple of FPs down there that have never been monkeyed with, and I've got a couple of LAs down there that have never been done anything with. I'm going to fly some no nitro. So I took one out. I got one rigged up and ready. I'm going to take out Tuesday and Wednesday and try it. Today's Monday, Wednesday and try it. But boy, that's the other thing about this being retired stuff. All the days are just alike.
Every day's a weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, what type of oil are you planning on running in them?
That's a LA 46, and I'm running 022. It's half caster and half slots. So
I'm wondering if you might cut down on your caster and run more good synthetic.
Well, that's what I've been thinking about too. But I have so much of the 022 downstairs that I was going to try that and just see what happens.
Sure, use it up. But you might want to play with it.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. But I looked in my cabinet last night, and I started flying electric last year, and I didn't quit buying fuel. And I have about 12 gallons of fuel downstairs, so I got to burn some.
Yeah,
that's what I said, Rusty. Good Lord, what am I doing? If my house catches fire, one end of my basement has bullets and reloading equipment, and the other end has model aviation fuel. Best thing I can tell him is get the heck away from this thing and let it go. The insurance works.
Yeah, which part of the house you want to burn first?
Yeah, really. I just pray nobody lights a spark in my basement. I'm telling you. After thinking about it and adding up all of what was down there, how many rounds of ammunition's in that one gun cabinet, and how much fuel's in that cabinet on the other end of the basement, I said, don't nobody come in here lighting a match, nothing. I take a torch. I went to go braise some half-a horns together for my Pinto, and I took them out in the yard to braise them. I didn't even want to light a torch in the basement. My word.
Yeah, speaking of gun stuff, just as a little aside, I've got an SKS, and over the years, I've lost all my magazines. Well, I haven't lost them. There in the garage, in a box somewhere. Yeah. And of course, without the magazine, I got an ugly stick.
Yeah.
So I went and something caught my eye, and I bought it online. I got it the other day. Why? I don't know. Never had one. A 75 round drum magazine for an SKS.
Oh Lord.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
All right.
I tell you what, that sounds pretty cool. I got a buddy who wanted me to come up and shoot something 2 weeks ago, and I went to his house to shoot it. I looked at the thing and said, "Forget it." He had two new guns. One of them is a drum-fed shotgun, 12 gauge.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I looked at the bullets he put in this thing. It was a combination of double-aught buck and deer rounds. Not
Right.
deer rounds, bird
Well-
rounds. So one would really kick you, and the next one would get light, and the next one would really kick you. And I, no, wait, you take this yourself. And the other gun was a dadgum 50 caliber Desert Eagle. I looked at that thing and I said, "You trying to break both my wrists? No, thank you."
That's a hand cannon.
I shoot a Glock 45, but I ain't fooling with that thing. I did that a year ago, and it took a month for my wrist to feel like I could move it to fly without hurting.
When you said 50 caliber, I was thinking you were going to say 50 caliber Barrett.
No. Barrett I can handle. A Casull I can handle. But this thing's nasty. I don't know what it's called, but it's nasty.
Yeah.
He fired that thing, and I had earplugs on, and I had my Mickey Mouse ears on over top of that, and it still cracked. You still heard that crack. I said, "Man, no, y'all keep this. I don't want nothing to do with this thing."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Bill, when you gonna build that clown?
Where'd Bill go?
Where'd Bill go?
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
Frank.
Come on, talk to us about the clown. You said you bought everything from Brodak, right?
Right.
Everything. So it's a ARF. So do you plan to fly it soon or what?
Pretty soon. Yeah.
I think that's going to be your next step up plane. It's a perfect choice. What you
Okay,
chose
good.
over there. It's not a big plane. It's not a really tiny plane. It's somewhere in the middle. It should be easy to handle. Lines, you can probably use what Mike Luntke is using, those Spectra lines and stuff like that. They should work fine with that plane. We should fly a lot better than anything you've had so far. I mean, should fly better than everything you had so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely is going to do a loop for you and stuff like that. So I'm happy for you, man. I'm really happy for you. I
Well,
can't wait to see you fly it. And I've seen a lot of videos with it. There are some videos on YouTube with building them, flying them, so on and so forth. Should be enough information out there as of what lines to use, how long, whatever. I'm excited for you.
Oh, good.
Cool. And
Yeah,
by the
you
way,
Should put
I
the
like
videos up on his
Kalashnikovs.
Super Clown from builds to flight, and so his channel, I think it's Sean Emery is the name of his channel.
Yeah.
But you can get good information from Shug. So
Yeah.
and he does just brilliant camera work too. He puts cameras all over the place
Yeah.
and then flies. He climbs poles. He mounts them on the plane. He mounts them at the staging area, so you get all kinds of different views of what's happening.
Yeah. He's good at that. I mean, he does a very good job at it. You're right about that.
But like the electrics I have, which I think are kind of underpowered, it's like I can do one loop great and two loops pretty good. And then by the time I try to get around for the third one, it seems like it's just bogging down. It just doesn't seem to have the power to pull it through.
Yeah. Well, if a plane does one loop, it should be able to do many after that one.
It should be able to do identical loops. Yeah.
If
The
you're
thing is
slowing down and you're slowing down, maybe, I don't know, maybe the electrical the battery is going down.
No, I don't know. It just seems like, you got a lot of induced drag there when you keep, pitching it the whole time, and it seems like it kind of catches up with it. Is it?
Bill, what's the size of your loop? How big a loops are you making?
I'm doing pretty big ones.
Yeah.
That was my question. How big?
On the wing, then.
Yeah.
A lot of guys do them too tight, and they're actually increasing the drag.
Yeah, and it's getting better. I mean, they're looking a lot rounder and that and stuff, and I feel like I'm actually controlling it through the loops, where at first it was kind of like, here I jerk up and then I pray that I can get around on the bottom, and now I feel like I'm flying it through the hole.
With my plane, I think I can do 15-foot loops forever, back to back,
Wow.
without even breaking a sweat. It doesn't stall.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You know, and like on that electric, the one that's like 15 size, they say to use a 9.7 prop. Doesn't that sound like a lot of pitch? Or
Okay, you don't want to run electric the way you run IC. IC develops the power at high RPM, so you need small pitch for that. Electric are happy at low RPM, so they like much more pitch.
oh, okay.
So anything over 6, 7, you might want to try 8. I don't know. I think it's too much. 8 is too much. Might not give you the drive to accelerate over there. But I think 6 or 7 would be ideal.
It's kind of like four-stroke engines. They like low pitch, low RPM also. And they were trying to run them at high RPMs. And it wasn't until Bob Reeves and others started flying them at lower RPM with more pitch that they started to really
Behave,
perform.
yeah, because they're electrical motors are most efficient at 0 RPM and least efficient at maximum RPM. IC motors are exactly the opposite. They're least efficient at 0 RPM and most efficient at high, and where they produce the power and the torque. So it's just, and if you ever go into electric stunt, if you ever find yourself with a hot motor, go to the next bigger motor, next bigger size. And that's going to cure the heat problem, probably the battery problem, just about every problem you have down the line too.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be the issue. And I've noticed that. I mean, fly those electrics on a 90-degree day and I land and the motor isn't hot, the battery isn't hot.
They don't care.
Yeah, but you think about it, when you cook something on your stove, right? Say you have an electrical range, you use energy, right, to create the heat. So any heat you have in a system, whether from the motor, battery, or the ESC, it's actually energy that's being lost. Okay. And if you have a small motor, it will require a lot of amps to produce the thrust that you need and the speed that you need. Because it requires a lot of amps, it gets hot, you lose energy over there. Now the ESC has to pump in all that energy into the motor. So the ESC gets hot, that's more lost energy over there. Now the battery, if it's a small size battery and it's kind of limited and stuff like that, is working to its limit again. The battery gets hot. So you have 3 heat sources that's just lost energy. Why? Because you try to save 20 grams on the motor. You spend the 25 grams on the motor, and guess what? You can use a smaller ESC, a smaller battery with a lower C rating. Whatever weight you increase on the motor, you can save it on the battery and ESC as well. So it's robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. But a bigger motor will make everything down the line, the ESC and the battery run very comfortable and very easy. I mean, I have a much bigger motor than I need in my plane, and the battery is running easy, the ESC is running easy, and I'm probably using less than 1200 milliamps of flight. Actually, when we're doing the testing and the fine-tuning on a plane, we use 1150 milliamps of flight on a 710 square inches plane. But I have no heat anywhere in the system. If I can even run the motor max on the ground, stop it, and I reach inside, touch the motor, it's lukewarm. Okay?
Wow.
But there's no energy loss anywhere, so that's that. I really think that a lot of people are missing this boat on electric. The fact that electrics are more efficient at low RPM, and they need a higher pitch prop, maybe a little bit more diameter, and run them a little bit slower. Instead they go to this 5-inch pitch prop and they go super fast because the Igor is doing it. I mean, I don't. He's have a point. He's just very good at what he does and stuff like that, and good for him, But I don't know about that,
It's just habit. We've all
Yeah.
gotten used to it. Over the years, we all started out with 6 pitch props, and then we went to 5 pitch to get our times down.
Mhm.
And then the tune pipes came in, and let's run a 4 pitch. It's hard to
Absolutely.
change gears and realize, okay, we got to go all the way the other way.
Yeah.
But mine's happiest. I couldn't believe it. I went to the hobby shop and could not find a 6 pitch prop that I wanted, and I got a 7. And I said, well, I know how to de-pitch it. And I forgot to. And I went to the field with a 7 pitch prop on a Nobler now.
Okay.
And flew it. Had to drop the RPM to get back to a 5.25 lap.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing ran better. I had more left in the battery.
Yes, more efficiency. Yep.
Yeah, everything was better. And this is on a 2820 or 20. That's a 2028, I think. But anyway, it's it just the whole thing just ran better, and I said, well, okay, now I understand what Trey's been saying, because you've been
more
talking about
efficient.
this before.
Yeah. I don't understand.
It does work.
Yeah.
But it's just opposite of all we've ever learned, though.
Yeah. And I was talking to Matthew over there on the field, and I said, now if I use this little energy, I mean 1150 milliamps for a full 5.5 minute flight, it's just like
you can use a much smaller battery.
A whole lot smaller battery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, should I change to a different prop, more blades, to use more energy, more? And he said,
why?
No. He said no. And Joe Gilbert said no. It's just like he was asking Matthew, he says, does he have line tension on the top? And he was saying, like, I have more line tension than I have on my plane. And it's running like a 70, what was it, a Merlin in it. I think it's got a 77 with running a 4-blade prop in his Dracula plane, stuff like that.
I don't know I can't remember what he calls it, but I remember it had a lot of. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Dracula. Yeah.
That
so they said. Yeah.
I would figure, Trey, and I would figure from where you're from, you would have called your plane Dracula.
Yeah.
And it's black. And it's black. How about that? I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
If I ever do that, you should see my fangs too, and the cape, and the red shirt,
Oh Lord!
red
Let him beat Paul Walker.
silk
Let him
shirt.
beat Paul Walker one year, and the next year he'd be out to turn a full Dracula outfit.
So
I
anybody
definitely get
find
one
out
of those nice
why Paul
hats.
changed his airplane?
Yeah.
What was your question, Steve?
Does anyone know why Paul changed his airplane?
He didn't really change it. I mean, same
He
thing.
didn't change it that much.
Yeah, I just wondered. He usually doesn't do a new plane every year. And it's like, what did he want to change in his airplane that made him change airplane?
I have no clue.
I was waiting for the punchline.
No.
Last year was it last year that they said he crashed it and tore it all to pieces a week before the Nats?
Yeah.
Put it back together, and it flew that well. Finished top 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did pretty good last year. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, Diane, congratulations on the national championship in advance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
So have you already went over what you changed on your trim?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll talk.
Yeah, we did. It was a lot of changes. Motor run changes, less flaps. We left the CGs, the lead outs where they are. We add more inboard tip weight too, because I had too much. We had too much outboard tip weight, so we kind of quick and dirty, right?
Okay.
All right. So to balance the plane so stay nice and straight on the line everywhere. And
Mhm.
and boy, oh boy. And you know the funny thing, even though we took the flaps out of it, we didn't lose the corner at all.
Nope.
It was
A
still
lot of
there.
times you gain
What out of
corner
it?
by taking
I
flaps
didn't
out.
get that.
hmm
That's
And
neat.
What out of it? You said.
we took a lot of flaps out of it. I think 30% at least.
You know, is that the deflection, or you actually removed that much material from the flap?
30% less deflection.
Okay.
You know, that
Wow.
reminds me of that Australian fella that came up with this really neat bell crank setup that the whole pivot point that the bell crank was locked to the pivot, and so the whole thing would turn. And he had coming out the bottom, he had basically a rod that was milled so he could bring it in closer to the center or bring it out so he could adjust the throws. And he put it in a stunt ship, and he played with how much flap was actually needed on his plane to do the job. And he got down to where it took only 7 degrees of flaps
Good gracious.
and about 25, 30 degrees of elevator, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
which tells us that depending on the size of the flaps we use, we don't necessarily need as much flaps as we're given. A 1-to-1 is way overkill, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's as crazy as it sounds, the hardest turning plane I've ever had is my Tiyasaki. It has no flaps.
Right.
But you can fly that thing in so deep it's ridiculous and make the turn. And everybody's already run for cover because they know it's going to be flying parts. And that thing will make the turn every time. It's the best flying profile I've ever had. But it is a profile. And the judges, if you go to a big contest, okay, it's a profile. You're not going to get the score that you get with a built up.
You get the profile, what do they call it? The profile handicap.
Yeah.
You're handicapped the wrong way, you know.
Yeah.
Do they not have a
Yeah.
profile category?
Well, then, yeah, they do. But
Oh, yeah.
when you're
Yeah,
playing a
we do.
profile in the standard, you know, like you're flying expert class and everybody's flying full body and you come in there with a profile, you aren't going to get anywhere close to the guys with the full bodies. Some judges still judge based on, like, if you're an intermediate, they don't figure you're going to get that a really good score might be 22, 23 points on a maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you're ever going to get. No matter, you did it perfectly, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And as you get up and score, that's why a lot of guys, when they move from intermediate to advanced, all of a sudden they pick up 20, 30 points in their pattern. In the advanced class, guys that are judging this way,
Well, that's
they
horseshit.
say that you might get 30 points on a good maneuver, and so that's as much as you're going to get.
Well, it's like saying you're going to throw a 93-mile-an-hour fastball in the minor leagues, and you go to the pros, and you're still throwing a 93-mile-an-hour pitch. It don't matter how you fly or what you fly. If you fly the pattern, you should get judged the same way.
You and I both.
Yeah,
You and I both
should.
agree. The fact of it is, a lot of inexperienced judges judge using what they call bracketing brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're
I don't like
flying
that.
at this level, your average scores are going to be the top score will be this number of points for that maneuver, and that's what you're going to get. If you do it really good, you're going to get that. It happens. It's not right. I've seen guys flying intermediate that can do a beautiful takeoff and a beautiful landing, almost perfect. You think they get 36, 37, 38 points? 22.
Well, that was
Yeah, I don't get that.
track.
I really don't get that.
He won beginner, and then the next day, it used to be that beginner was one day and intermediate was the next. So he won beginner, so he moved to intermediate, and we looked at scores, And it's like he scored 10 points higher on his loops, his landings, his takeoffs in intermediate than he did the day before in beginner.
Right. That's bracketing. And it goes all the way up. It isn't until you get in expert class that you can be expected to approach 35, 36, 37 points.
Hey, Jamie, how you been, man?
Well, I can't use the PC term really. So working working my butt off.
Hey, James, good to see you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, good to see, James.
So, are you out of town working, or are you back? You sticking close to home now and stuff?
I'm in Houston right now.
You're where?
In Houston.
Oh, okay. Well, you're back doing the traveling again.
Oh, and we ain't stopped.
Good luck breathing that air down there, brother.
I'm gonna be back I'm gonna come back on in a minute when I get back up in my room. The traffic right here by the hotel is loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot there or not?
Two things you can count on Houston this time of year: heat and humidity.
Same here in Tennessee.
I can't believe by being laid off and not being in the heat from the beginning, how it's killing me this year.
Oh, me too.
I mean, usually it took me from January to, he's gone, from January until June to start getting used to the heat. And by July and August, I mean, I was, like normal. We go to the nest. That one year it was like 98 degrees down there. And I'm just walking around. Everybody's like, how in the hell are you taking this heat? And I'm like, well, it's about 20 degrees cooler than what I'm used to. Because on the roofs, it'd be 120 degrees today. So it's like my blood would thin out or something, and I could take it pretty. Now this year, I swear to God, walking to the mailbox, I almost, go into some kind of heat.
You just get old, Steve.
Now, I mean, this was from 1 year, though. Last year I did fine, but I mean, this
so
year,
did I.
Yeah, it comes on quick.
Hey, I got a question for you, Peter. On your fuselage on that Saginaw, was it cut wrong? Is yours laser cut or is it machined?
The fuselage is machined.
Let me see the nose of it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yours is cut wrong too. You got to scab in. Look at right by where the spinner would be.
Yeah, right here.
Yep, it's cut wrong. Same with mine. I'm going to give him a call tomorrow. I glued on one side, and then I had it all glued up. I wasn't paying attention. I put it all down, and I'm like, oh, I got the top off. And I slid it down, and it's like, now everything. I'm like, what the hell? I measure it quick, and it's cut, cut right for the nose ring. You're going to have to scab in wood.
No, the nose ring's smaller.
Oh, it's not a 2-inch.
Nope. So if the plywood pops up, you're probably going to end up shaving most of that off.
Oh, okay. Because I measured it, it measures 2-inch. And it's like, well, hell, I'm going to have to scab wood in there to get that to work.
And that's what I kind of thought as well. But the nose ring is, hold on.
1 3/4.
1 3/4 then, yep.
Yeah, a lot of Brodeck stuff are for the 40 size are 1 3/4 stuff.
Well, when I seen that was 2-inch, I'm like, yes, finally I get to use a 2-inch spinner on a big prop, because otherwise you got to hack the hell out of the spinner to get it to go over the prop there.
No such luck, Steve.
So Peter, how is the
Actually, the nose ring is 2 inches.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Then what's what is the outside of that then? That's really weird.
Yeah, the nose ring, the outside of the nose ring is 2 inches, right on the nose.
so the fuselage then has plenty of because actually the center line of that circle is on the outboard face of the fuselage. It doesn't fit centered like you had it. Center line's over. That has to mount up match up with the front line.
That's almost the actual fuselage where the plywood pops up is almost 2 1/4.
Oh, okay. So they just laser cut the plywood wrong then. Then the other thing I thought on mine, the side that's cut out for the engine to go in, doesn't match up with the hole.
No, it's a little bit off. The hardware bearers don't quite line up with the fuselage sides because, as you can see, what I had to do.
He had scab in wood. I was going to tell him about that.
A little bit right there.
Yeah. Yeah, about 3/16.
Yeah, you got me wondering because I drew the darn plans for that and I didn't see any of that. I didn't draw it in that way.
Well, that's how it came. Not blaming anybody. It's nothing that.
Well, I'm wondering if somebody changed something and they made the cuts.
I don't know, but it's I was gonna call Parker and find out about it, but let him know because if other people get the kit, they're gonna bitch or not be able to fix it or whatever. And
oh yeah, I mean you definitely has to be a little bit of work done there.
Well, see, I think they cut it long like that they knew you were going to be taking it off to match the spinner up. Seriously, that's one thing. If they didn't have enough balsa in there to match the spinner up, that'd be another thing.
Yeah, because I kind of wondered because it's like if you look at the pictures of the guy building it, he has a laser cut fuselage, and it looks like his doublers and everything fit on there fine. And I didn't know when they machined it if they raised or lowered the motor mounts or what they did. I was going to lay it on the plan and try to figure out if it matches the plan.
Well, Steve, one of the things to think about is that it's very difficult to laser cut 1/2 inch balsa because actually the laser bends and cuts off a kerf at an angle, and so most of them what they do, like Walter does, he cuts 2 1/4 inch pieces, and you glue those together to get your 1/2 inch balsa. So usually most 1/2 inch the Broduck does is pin routed, so that they can use 1/2 inch balsa there. You don't have to worry about gluing 2 1/4 inch pieces together.
Oh,
so I'm not surprised. I am surprised that it looked like the one that the guy was building in the instructions looked like it was laser cut, but it might have been 2 1/4 inch pieces of balsa glued together.
Oh, biggie.
Speaking of building airplanes, John, I got a question for you since you've designed them. How do you determine landing gear placement?
First thing you do is you find out where the CG has to be. All right, and the way you do that, the reason I was asking was
thinking about I have a Great Plains P-51 RC plane that I bought for $25. I thought, what the heck, I'll try it. But converting it to control line, it hadn't been built yet. But I didn't know if landing gear placement on RC is different in the control lines. I know you got your symmetrical wings on the RC, but you want to shorten one wing and all that. But I didn't know about landing gear or anything like that.
Well, here's the thing: that the landing gear placement is based on the CG of the airplane. So if the CG is anywhere close on the RC plane to where it would be on the the control line airplane, you don't have a problem. Usually they are. The wings are designed to balance a certain. So you have to find the mean aerodynamic chord, and then there you find out how far. The rules of thumb are if you got a 24-inch or 24% stab and elevator, you can set your CG, your main CG, as a starting point at 24% back from the leading edge at the mean aerodynamic chord. Now, if you're talking about a main landing gear, not a trike landing gear. So in a main landing gear, what you do is I'll do, most of the side views on a kit or on a drawing are shown with the airplane horizontal, like it was landing on the main gear. You're sitting on the main gear, tail is up. And so you take a line, drop a line directly down from the CG to the ground. Okay. And then you draw another line. You don't want to be any more. Team ratios use 14 degrees. I've found that 18 degrees is a pretty good number to use for most things. You can go 14 if you want, but in grass it suffers a little. If you go 18 degrees and intersect the ground line again, and if you put your wheel where it touches the ground, where the wheel itself touches where that line intersects, that now sets your main gear at 18 degrees, where it intersects and touches with the ground. That'll give you an airplane that'll come in and it'll do beautiful main gear landings are almost automatic. It's like the one I remember most is my Electra. It would come in and I'd get close to the ground. It was like the ground says, "Come here, honey," and it just pulled me down. You just pull me down, and I'd be on the main gear, and it'd roll and roll and roll on the main gear. And I got to where I could bring it around and get it slowed down, and then I'd figure so that you get it. Once you've done that, though, that's not a problem. There's no problem. That's the only problem. But you can also do another way of going about it, and that is take two push rods off, one going to the flap horn and the other going back to the elevator. Or there's a third way you can do it. You can go straight back to the elevator, and then you can come forward from the elevator to the flap horn. I've done that too. It works great. It works great.
Here's the way I bought it so far. I've got one wing, or one half a wing, and dusty fuselage here. That's all. I mean, I haven't done anything to it since I bought it, and I've had it for several years now. But it's a fairly, hefty sized plane, as most P-51s are.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's a great plane, P-51. But they wanted $25 on Craigslist. I said, I'll take it.
You got to steal. That thing was how much was it? What was that? About $150 back in 20 years ago?
Something like that,
yeah.
Yeah.
Great Plains were always pretty high.
But it would be a great conversion. And were you going to do it for scale or for stunt?
That was my question.
If it was, it depends on how hard it is to make it stunt.
Well,
if not, then I would just do scale.
Does it have a symmetrical airfoil in it?
Yeah.
It does? It'll stunt. Just keep it light. More scale type airplanes usually wind up having more lumber in them and usually have a tendency to wind up heavy. So you got to watch for that.
Yeah. Of course, it's going to be a whole lot lighter because it's not going to have all electronic and everything. So
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
now, are there,
Raby did wonders with almost scale Spitfires, not Spitfires, Mustangs, and others that he built, designed, and won the Nats with.
yeah.
So yeah, it can be done.
now where you got solid ribs in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get. That's gonna be fun trying to cut them out, lighten up that wing.
Oh well, no, they got I don't know if you can see it. They got holes in them. I mean,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I actually have places to run bleed outs. I can go in and trim out some of the outboard ribs, but they're I don't know. They're not solid, so
Okay.
Just make
One
sure
thing
the
I
nose is rigid on the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you run IC, a rigid nose is critical to the motor run. If you don't have a rigid nose, though, your motor is not going to run right.
Right.
too
So
much vibration.
yes, yeah.
It'd be a good candidate for electric.
It would. When
Yeah,
you
it'll
go
be
to,
just.
go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, electric on a Mustang will probably just. I don't know. I think
Work great.
I would like to hear it growl as a
Yeah.
Mustang, right?
And
Yeah.
then you might want a
Yeah.
4-stroke on it.
Yeah, put a four-stroke on them. I've got a friend. Well, a friend of ours, mine, Mike's Lonkeys. He used to fly with us. He had his brother-in-law built a 72-inch Mustang RC and died before he got to fly it. So Steve took it and converted it with a 3-wire control line. Still had the same RC engine in it, 4-stroke, and he actually had that. He had a pit, biplane, and what is that one that's got the mouth on the front of it? The
P40.
P40.
P40, yeah. And it had it's got a 4-stroke in it. Man, when that 4-stroke come rolling by, it sounded like the real thing.
Yeah, it
My
does.
gosh, that was a beautiful plane flying by. But they were so big, all they could do was go circles and maybe not really a wing over, but just a high arch. But
That's what they fly in RC scale.
Yeah, he would throttle it down.
I mean,
He'd throttle it down, bring it in for a landing and everything, and just run it about a 3/4 of a circle and hit the throttle again, take off and everything, and it was awesome. He's actually got there's some videos that Mike Lonke has of him flying on his YouTube page, but I knew they weren't. They were just all he did was take the electronics out and hook up the bell crank in it, but they weren't built for control line. So I didn't know how, if it was worth the effort to try to do it or not.
No, I think you're fine. You're gonna be fine with that, whatever you choose. Electric, I think would work on a Mustang as well as the IC on your plane. Should work fine. It's gonna give you a easy setup and a bulletproof run, right? That's gonna run the same over and over again. But that being said, I'll give you a little example. Chris Cox. Chris Cox.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, I mean that guy can build, and his craftsmanship is exemplary. I mean, just unbelievably beautiful craftsmanship. Shiny planes, good finish. The balsa work is pristine. everything is beautiful. But then, you know, Warbird that's shiny with an electric motor, and you can't hear anything in there. And I'm going like,
Yeah, this one,
something is disconnected here. Shiny Warbirds
this one
electric.
here says it's got a 57-inch wingspan, 580 square inches. Weight is approximately 6 pounds. Of course, that's with all electronics in. Engine is 40 to 46 2-cycle or a 70 4-cycle.
See, Tran, if you could figure out a way to put a little sound chip on there and have a little speaker on it and have a Rolls Royce Merlin that's in there, you could make that sound really good.
It's an Arduino Zero has an SD card built into it, and you can actually play sounds of the SD card. You just call it and plays the sound for you on a speaker.
Yeah. No. Now, wouldn't that be nice to have it sound like a Rolls Royce Merlin as it went around a circle?
Oh yeah,
that would.
Yeah.
Bring it into a dive and listen to that thing speed up. Oh yeah.
A few years back at the Nats, there was a guy brought a Wildcat. I can't remember his name. I've met him. I've launched the airplane for him, but I can't remember his name. But anyway, this thing, it was done up so real looking. It even had, before the war, the stars on the wing.
I know the one you mean.
Out, and they were smaller. And then he'd even put where they rushed them and put the bigger stars on it. You can still see the outline of the old one. This thing looked real. Even the landing gear. Think about a Wildcat. Now, this isn't a Hellcat. This is a Wildcat. It's got the trapeze landing gear under it. This thing, the whole thing looked real. So I go to the Nats that year, and we walk in and we set our plane down. And I'm watching all the planes and looking, seeing where everything is. And of course, Wendy's plane's up near the front, and when the judging's over, I mean, Wendy's airplane's up the front, and I'm looking around. Where the heck is the Wildcat? It was all the way at the back of the room because it was. I asked, why is that back there? It's not shiny. It's a Warbird.
It
looked real.
They're still talking about that, Philip. That was it was. I'm trying to remember. It was RC. Who did the?
I can't remember. I know it had a Tiger 60 in it, and I couldn't believe the thing would fly with that little bitty Venturi in it. But it flew very well. It was not near as heavy as it looked.
Yeah. Well, it was the RC. Wasn't pattern product, but anyway, they were the appearance judges that year, and they messed up big time because that thing had a period correct finish. It had a Warbird finish on it. People still, and I hope that if he ever showed up again with that airplane, that he would get what he deserved. But I think they kind of broke him of it. I don't think he ever came back.
I don't think he ever did. I didn't see him the next year, and I didn't see him the year after that, and I didn't go after that for a while. But that he came to Winston-Salem with that thing to our little meet here, and Bobby Hunt saw that plane. And when Bobby Hunt says, "Wow," that's something. And when we were at the Nats, and it was all the way back there, and Hunt says he got robbed. He really got robbed.
Oh, he did.
I don't know who the judges were, but that thing, had I been there, that and Wendy's plane, I would have had to really smoke them both over to decide who won. But the Wildcat probably would have got the nod because it just looked so real. I mean, I love Al Raby's airplanes. His Bearcat impressed me back in the 70s. But if you ever seen his new Mustang, not the new Mustang, just the Snaggletooth, that thing was incredible. Sea Fury was amazing. But the stuff he's flying now, the Critical Mass and the big Bearcat, man, they're incredible. But this one, as much as I like Al Raby, Al would have taken a back seat to this airplane. It was that good.
Yeah.
Les McDonald would have taken the back seat to this airplane, and I really like Les's stuff. The Stiletto was always just really slick. But this thing was incredible and set on the back row. I just could not believe it.
Yeah, that was a travesty.
Yeah, Jim Lynch said if I were the judge, in the following year he was. So it was pretty neat.
First flights this morning, P1 F0 had a more provider.
Can't hear that.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah.
On that, the cutout where you took the canopy and glued on the fuselage.
Yeah.
And then there's a piece that go over the stab. What is the third? What's that third piece for?
What? Yeah. Yeah, this, and then you have this little sucker.
Right, and then on that same deal, there's another piece that's cut out. Where does that go?
I haven't gotten that far.
Somebody got a TV going in the back.
I love an honest answer. I ain't got that for you.
Whereas John, it's half inch, and it's like, well, hell, it seemed like it'd have to go on the fuselage.
Hey guys, I'm gonna call it off. Good night.
Okay.
Good night, Trey, and have a good one, buddy.
Trey, when you headed up to Chicago?
I'm not heading out to Chicago. Mark is coming in Georgia to the contest here.
Or are you guys going to build it all down, the new wing down there then?
He's bringing the molds and everything to me.
Oh, okay. You're not going to do no more building in Chicago, huh?
No, it's I can accomplish a lot more by myself here.
Oh, okay.
I know what you're talking about.
We're all doing.
So,
I know what you're talking about. Where is it? Here it is.
See you later.
Good try.
See you, Brian.
Trey, you have a great week, buddy.
Is the fuselage extension?
No, there's
No?
like.
Okay, Brian. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, I seen that on there. There's like a half moon thing. I can go get the one of mine here real quick. Hold on a second.
All right, while you're doing that, you guys make your own lead outs.
Yeah.
Coming off your the bell cranks, do y'all crimp your lines, twist them, time? How do y'all do it? If you crimp them, what crimping tool do you use?
Don't crimp them.
I wrap mine.
All right.
I wrap
Yeah,
mine.
I wouldn't crimp anything that's inside the wing that I couldn't look at often. So I wrap mine.
And I also put my lead outs through some copper tubing through the bell crank. That's how I do it.
That's the way I do it.
I use some brass tubing, make a little horseshoe-like effect that goes, and I use it. If I use a thick style bell crank, I'll open that hole up, and then I'll take a bigger one and I'll just put a bevel on both sides, and then I'll run that through its bent, bring it together, and then bring the wires out, and I start wrapping them. And once I get them all wrapped, I'll slide some shrink tubing on it, shrink it down, and I know it's not going to let loose in there.
Because
I usually just use the crimp.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Never had an airplane last that long.
Yeah.
I've had airplanes for over 20 years now.
I've had airplanes for 20 minutes.
I have to.
If they're gonna last that long, yeah, I guess you would just crimp it. It'd be easier than wrapping. It's a lot of
I've
work.
got these lead outs here that's got the eyelets and the little sleeves. Got 4 sleeves. But I don't have anything to crimp them with. Besides pliers, I don't like crimping anything with just pliers.
The crimps do work, and when I was a kid, I got away with crimping them with wire cutters as long as you don't cut through it.
You
don't line through around the eyelet.
Yeah, you don't want to crimp anything. I agree with Philip. And I agree with
I mean, you can get away with it, but it's really not the best way to do it.
Why take the chance? Why set yourself up for a possible? I learned the issue of using stay bright solder. That's a no-no. I've lost several airplanes because of letting loose over time. I thought I was using good solder. No. Problem is I won't use it again now. I've had over time I've had crimped lines start fraying, and letting loose.
Yeah, I have done that, but I use the tubes, but I don't crimp.
Well, the bottom line is it doesn't take me that much more to wrap them, and I don't have to worry about it, especially when I put that heat shrink tubing on there. That just kind of makes sure everything stays where it's supposed to be.
So do you just twist them up, or do you wrap them with copper wire too, and solder?
Wrap them with copper wire. Don't twist them up. Look in your AMA handbook there, and it shows you how to wrap your lines. That's what you want to do.
Okay.
Take it down and back.
Yep.
And be sure and use a piece of brass tubing or copper tubing, a C through that bell crank, and your wire goes through that, because you think, oh, the wire's stronger than the nylon bell crank. I have an All-American Senior in the basement that the bell crank looks like brand new, and it cut through the copper wire, cut through the wire, the lead out.
Yeah.
And lost the airplane because the wire broke.
Yeah, once you kink the brass wire, it's done.
Yeah. Once you put it, you take the wire and put it through the copper, and then wrap it and put the heat shrink tubing on it. And
There's a couple
shrink
of
that
tutorials on Stunt Hangar too.
Yeah, it's never going anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a good tutorial on Stunt Hangar. I knew I'd seen it somewhere. I couldn't remember where.
I think
Oh, ain't that pretty?
Something here.
Isn't
Can't
that
see
pretty?
it very clearly.
Can you see it?
Not very clearly. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's exactly what we're talking about.
That's what you need right there.
Yep. Except he
There
doesn't
was
have
brass
the heat shrink tubing on it.
I always put JB Weld on mine, but that's just me.
Yeah.
It all works. The trick is do something. Don't just let it go.
Well, the only bell cranks I've got one here that's I guess it looks like a Brodak maybe nylon, and then the rest of them are old Perfects, stuff like that. You know,
Just don't use the metal ones.
Still got a lot of old school stuff.
Hang on, I'm making it big right now.
That's what she's.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's just the old school aluminum.
Do you want to know what we did back in the 50s with those type of bell cranks?
They work.
We would take a piece of copper tubing, we'd drill a hole out so the copper tubing would go through, and on one side we'd take we'd put a piece of paper, thin paper underneath it, and we'd lay a wash on it. We'd solder that in, pull that paper out, put another paper on the other side, put the wash on there, solder it, and then cut it off, and then bevel it a little bit. And we put a little oil in there. Now that we had a bearing in there, it would turn with the lead out. They lasted a long time that way. But if you didn't do that, you just put the wire through there, it'd eat through that horn.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Fox bell.
It's like a Fox or a Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, a lot of my stuff's just old school stuff. Just never got around to using.
There's nothing wrong with the old school stuff.
Nothing wrong with it.
Well, I just never could figure out why you would mess with a perfect bell crank.
It was
Better
perfect.
than the one.
You just couldn't resist, huh?
Lord have mercy.
Okay, there's that here's this piece.
Okay, I'll tell you where that goes.
Where does that go?
When you put these on, and you have some 1/16 inch sizes the same way. When you put this on, what you'll find is at the bottom of the fuselage, you're going to have these sides stick down below the bottom.
Okay, yeah.
That fits in there to fill that space.
Oh, okay, cool.
What was that?
Yeah. All right. I see right now. 'Cause I was looking at it like, okay, where does that go? Yeah, that makes sense now.
It's the same thing like for the canopy, except it's for the bottom here.
Oh, okay. Fills them two pieces then.
Yep.
Phil, that's the Spirit of Saginaw 3.
And you'll have because you have the 1/8 inch plywood doubler back there. You'll have the same thing. You'll have a bunch of these the same thing in like the 1/8 inch side to put.
Oh, to fill it in there too. Oh, okay.
Yep. Because you have 1/8 like 1/16 inch wall doubler that goes behind the plywood doubler on the fuselage sides to make up for that gap.
Yeah, what I'm hoping is that I'm going to cover the wings with monocoat, and then paint the fuselage and paint them in intake scoops. Then what I'm hoping is that I can slide, once it's all painted and everything, I can then slide this intake scoop up against the fuselage, and that'll cover the seam for the monocoat, plus give me a good gluing surface to glue inside the fuselage and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, you have to just remember on one side the horn gets buried under that thing. At least the way they show it.
Yeah, yeah, you got to hollow it out.
Yep. Okay, that is not the airplane.
That
No,
looks like a.
And
That looks like a good candidate for a tuned pipe.
You guys see my Strega design?
Oh, is that your Strega design?
That's your Strega?
Yeah,
I thought that looked like a Strega wing.
Yeah, I modified it. I'm going to put a tuned pipe in it, and I needed a bottom block. I don't know if you can make me big, Rusty. Can you make me big so I can show everybody?
You look like a pretty good sized fella anyway, Charles.
Yeah, he wants a tune pipe to make you look pregnant.
That's sharp.
Anyway, so I'm going to put like almost a 2-inch bottom block. Because I don't want the tuned pipe to show from the side view when I'm flying, and then I'd have to extend the cowl. So I was just fooling around with the plans, and that's what I drew. I don't know if you can see how I extended the bottom block and extended the cowl. Yeah. And I also moved the canopy on the stock Strega. The canopy is further back.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd move the canopy forward, and I kind of like the way it looks. I wanted to get you guys' opinion on it.
I like that.
Yeah, it looks nice.
I like that. That's I like the vertical rudder. I've never liked those angled rudders because they just throw a yaw in the
a hard
airplane.
time keeping up with y'all.
Charles, the only thing that I see that I might have a little bit of a problem with is the leading edge of the airfoil there.
Too sharp.
It comes to
yeah.
a point.
Absolutely. I will round that. That's in the plans. And I definitely will put like a bull nose on that thing. It's going to be as flat as I can make it.
Yeah, you actually want to change the shape of the front of that rib so that you can, because right now it as it
That's
comes
what I'm
out,
trying to show y'all, but I can't see
it won't allow you to put much. Won't allow you to put much of a bullnose on it, type thing. It's awful thick, but that's the way the Strega is.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I've been trying and trying, but I am having a hell of a time getting y'all's pictures to go big.
Well, we can click on them ourselves.
Yeah.
So I got a question that's been bothering me.
Okay.
In flying models,
There we go.
can you see that? To me, it looks like the lead outs are on the opposite direction.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it is.
Do some people fly the opposite way, or is that just?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
there are some, including George Aldridge.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how the Nobler was designed.
Well, too, if it just depends on the way they flip the picture too.
Picture could have been flipped. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably all it is.
But there are people that learn to fly going clockwise.
Oh, okay.
If you want to find out if the picture's flipped, try to find any words that are written on it. If they're backwards, then they flip the picture.
The bad thing with flying clockwise in today's world is there's not a whole lot of people fly clockwise, and it usually throws the judges for a little bit of a loop.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're not used to judging an airplane that's going backwards, in the pattern. And so you may get hurt with that. You may not, but you might. But then if you're not flying competition and you want to fly going the other way, hang to it, have fun. Hang 10, as I used to say.
Yeah. Oh, now you're telling that you lived in California now.
Yeah.
Just ask my little buddy there in the blue shirt.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That is one fat airfoil.
It is thick. It's nearly 3 inches.
Yes, it's a little over 3 inches if I remember measuring it. Yeah.
I've never measured mine, but every time I look at that thing, I think, my God, is that good gracious? That thing going to fit in the back of the pickup?
Pattern.
Yeah, I
You
can't.
don't want to strap it on top of the cab because of that thick airfoil, it might lift off.
Yeah.
with the pickup.
Yes.
Oh, I tell you, it's the weird part is I know a Cardinal will fit back there, so I'm sure it'll fit.
Yeah,
but it sure is going to be a bed full. It's going to be a bed full.
This big, thick airfoil. I hope they'll be able to fly a little bit slower this year with the stock 81 and tune pipe. I'm hoping that I can actually bring my lap times down with that big, thick airfoil.
Good gracious.
So you're using the airfoil as drag?
Yeah, that's how I see planes set up, aren't they?
Not necessarily. You can look at the Aldrich's Nobler, 14% airfoil, thin airfoil, really. Then that was before people started going thicker and thicker. But as well as the Nobler flies, that was all it really needed. And you could slow it down. He didn't depend on drag. We didn't have the power in the engines in those days. We had to try to tame the drag. So they built the airplanes so that the engines we had could haul them around.
Right.
So what you do if you got too much power or speed on it, you can put a smaller engine on it. You can turn the pipe down a little bit or turn the wick down a little bit on it. There are a lot of things that you can do to tame the excess speed. Yeah,
this is my first pipe ship, so it's gonna be a whole new learning curve. I've never, really known. I mean,
follow Randy. Go to Randy's site. He's got a whole pipe chart and everything. If you follow it, Randy's got it.
He's talking about being a big plane fitting in the back of your truck. First time I went out flying in 2009 after 25 years of not flying, took my ringmaster out there in my dad's Cosmic Wind, set it down beside that Strega, and all of a sudden mine looked like a damn 049.
I know.
Yeah, Strega.
I know what you mean.
Strega's a big.
I thought those were big planes until I got them beside a big plane.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, Rusty, remember the ringmaster that showed up at the event? not last year, but year before, and we all parked our ringmasters under the wing of this thing. It was a ringmaster, but Sparky looked at the thing. He said, "What the heck did they cover that thing with? A bed sheet? God, it's a big wing."
Was that Banjox?
No, I can't remember if it was band. I don't think it was.
I think Banjox got Flight Streak.
He's got a
Flight Streak.
Flight Streak, yeah. I think Banjock had his Flight Streak there, and this guy didn't fly because I don't think he wanted to compete with Banjock. Banjock could actually hang on to that thing and fly it, but Danny's used to flying stuff like that. He's got a PA-75 in that Turbo Raven he's got, but he flies that thing on his heels, buddy.
Charles, I hope it works well for you.
I hope it does too.
I've been fooling around with the plans, trying to figure out how to make it look. I didn't want to look bulky, but I needed to go down an additional 2 inches, and so I really worked on the canopy, on the cowl, to kind of make that really kind of slick looking.
Yeah, looks good. You're more talented than what I thought, Charles.
Thank you.
By the way, you clean up pretty good. That's the first time I've seen you weren't wearing a T-shirt.
It's only 86 degrees in here today, but I was thinking about taking this shirt off, put a tank top on to be more comfortable. So here's what the regular looks like.
I wore suits for so long.
That looks good, Charles.
That's
can't get used to T-shirts.
I want to hide all that. I really don't want to see this pipe at all. Maybe just the stinger. But that's all I want to see.
Yeah.
Well, you from about the high point of that pipe back, you want that open so that the cooling air can get out.
Well, I was thinking about actually on the bottom block, actually cut it open so it can cool off, but I just don't want to see it when I'm flying. I don't want to.
You're gonna just put skirts on it.
Put skirts on it. Just form it. Get yourself a baseball bat. Form yourself some balsa around it. Slice it up, fit it in there so that you and put a little bit of webbing in there to strengthen it, and cut yourself some weight. Save yourself some money on that 2-inch thick block you're going to throw most of the way.
Well, I was thinking about doing a mold. I was going to make a.
That's what I'm talking about, molding it.
Yeah, I was going to mold it, and but I was curious if I should use.
That was just huge.
Double 1/16 molding. Put 2 sheets of 1/16, or if I'd be okay with a single sheet of 1/16 molding.
I got a picture of it too, and I think I got a picture of Sam Lanky holding it up.
Charles used 2 sheets. You can't believe how strong it gets.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was also concerned about, if I might have to make 2 or 3 different blocks, because it's not a straight curve. Past the pipe, it's gonna go down.
Well, that's another place where 2 sheets will come in handy, because the first sheet will conform to your mold. Being 1/16, it'll conform a lot better than a piece of 332 or 1/8. 1/8, don't try it. If you use 2 sheets of 1/16, and I went down to Tom Morris's place and spent the day with him, and we molded some blocks that were the top block. If you know what a crossfire,
a couple of times this week.
If you know what a crossfire canopy looks like, as many angle changes as there are in that, he molded that in one piece with 2 pieces of 1/16. And what he does, he soaks that wood in just water. I thought I'd always used ammonia and stunk the house up. He used just water. It soaked for about 2 hours, 2 sheets of 1/16 balsa. Then he took it out, and he'd already cut it to the size and shape. Take a piece of newspaper and lay over it, figure out the size and shape that they're going to have to be.
All right.
Lay that over. He laid that piece of balsa down there, and he took some white glue and put just dabs of white glue, because they're wet. It's going to migrate.
Right.
He put just dabs of white glue on there, about 1/8 of an inch apart, just all over the thing, and then put the 2 pieces of 1/16 together, put it over that canopy, and took an ace bandage and wrapped it. and I know it come out beautiful because I've got it on an airplane downstairs.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it's just not near as hard as you think it is. Everybody has stayed away from molding all these years because it's black magic. It's hard to do. It's not.
Well, it's harder to make the bucks than it is to do the molding.
Well, if you'll do the bucks with blue foam, that's not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I got some
Rusty,
white
I
foam.
think you're way out of sync again.
Yeah, Rusty, you're way out of sync.
He won't hear it for another 3 minutes.
At least he'll hear it twice at least. Yeah, so I am concerned about making the buck. This is my first time making a tune pipe ship and molding. This plane is actually new in many ways. So I'm kind of excited and apprehensive at the same time.
you need any help doing that, give me a holler. I'd almost make the buck for you just to see you come up with a nice one.
All right. Well, thanks. Yeah, I will.
Yeah. I hate you live so far away. I'd come over to help you with it.
Yeah.
Since I got into this molding, I really enjoy it. It's a
Wow.
lot of fun. And the parts are repeatable. You've got the mold, you can do it again.
Yeah, I can't find any of that blue foam. I know that blue foam is the best, but all I can find out here is just the white.
Go to Home Depot.
Go to Home Depot. Yeah.
Any place, find out who your contractors, local contractors, where they go to get their materials, because what that blue foam really is, it comes in 4x8 sheets, and it's what they use for insulation on big buildings. They build the sides with aluminum instead of 2x4s. They use this new structured aluminum. I forgot what they called it, but anyway, and then they put that blue foam, 2-inch blue foam in between it as insulation. And you buy this stuff, a 4x8 sheet was like $18.
Really?
The problem was finding some way to cut the darn thing in half so I could get it home.
Right. Because I've been to Home Depot and Lowe's and walked around, couldn't find it. I don't know.
Okay, well, you need to go to a home supply place then, instead of just my local Home Depot doesn't have it either, but some of them do. But we've got
the pink foam work is good or not?
What's that?
Everything we got here is pink now.
Oh Lord,
It's the same stuff.
Pink will work.
It's the same foam.
I don't know. I
pink
have never
foam.
seen the pink. Steve, I've never seen the pink foam. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. But the blue foam is just, it comes 2-inch thick and it's insulation foam. And you can take that. The only place you got to really watch it is if you find you need it bigger than 2 inches, put the seam vertical, not horizontal, because if you go trying to cut through that stuff, that glue seam is awful hard to get around. And you're going to do your vertical line at the top, you're going to do with a saw or something. You're going to go through that real quick and easy. But if you put it horizontal, now you got two of them to deal with, and it's hard on both sides. So just, if you have to double it, put the seam in the middle going vertical, and then you're going to cut that with a saw.
How thick normally is it?
Do what?
How thick?
2 inches. 2 inches.
Okay, I didn't know if it was 3/4, 1 inch.
What you can do, is take your fuselage and turn it upside down on a piece of paper board. I use 3/8 inch particle board, 3/4 particle board, and trace it inside, the inside of it.
Right.
All right. Now cut that out on a saw, cut close to the line, and then sand down to the line all the way around. Now you've got a template or a pattern of the inside of your fuselage. It's 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch if it's 1/8 inch sides on both sides, smaller than the fuselage actually is. Well, guess what? 2 pieces of 1/16 1/8 of an inch.
Right.
And 2 sides of that is 1/4 of an inch. So when you mold that, now you've got a mold that fits exactly over your fuselage. So all you've got to have now is the formers. Figure out what the formers are at 8 or 10 different points down the length of that fuselage. Put your mold, your formers down there. Take your blue foam, and all you need is a piece that goes from former to former. Get you a hot wire and just cut that thing. And hot wire, if you don't know how to do it, go to a craft store and you can buy a kit that does it just real cheap. And you cut a 4 to 6 inch piece at a time. Now put those together put those together, and you've got the mold of your fuselage. Now get your balsa wood and wet it and glue it up, and take it, and when you put the balsa wood over this mold, start in the middle and work to the back. Start in the middle and work toward the front. You're done. When you get done, you've got a 3/4 inch piece of wood here, and your balsa has hung over the sides of this 3/4 plywood. Well,
right.
It comes over the foam onto the 3/8 plywood, right?
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Take you a piece of that 3/4 plywood and take a blade, an X-Acto blade, glue to it, lay it on the table, trace go all the way around it, and now you've got a perfect mold. You just take it off of there and lay it on your plane.
Fantastic. That makes it really simple. I like that. The only thing is Philip, remember, this is going to be the bottom block with the pipes. I'm not going to have a lot of formers.
Well, no, not to leave in there, but you're going to have them. If you'll come up with like 8 spaces, what it's going to shape like at that point. Now you've got something to carve your blue foam with. You're going to use those for templates to cut pieces, 8 inches long of the blue foam. Now on the top block, you could leave them in there. On the bottom, you could leave them in if you want to, but I didn't use them. Mine's just a hollow block on the bottom. But that gives you your former, and it's done, and it's right.
Right. Okay.
And it's repeatable. If it gets damaged, you can fix it.
Exactly. Yep. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Hey, good night. Good night, Tom.
Good night, Tom.
Night.
Yeah, I think I'm going to check out now, too, guys. Y'all be careful. Have a great week. We'll talk to you Friday night.
Hey, Philip, if I want to reach you, how can I reach you? You're on the forum, right?
I'm on the forum, and I'm on Stunt News. I should be listed in that. Or get in touch with Rusty. He knows how to get in touch with me.
All right.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself. We'll see everybody Friday. Have a great week, everybody.
All right. See you, man.
All right. Take care, man. Thanks for coming.
Where'd Jeff go?
Where'd who go?
Jeff.
I don't
White
know.
wall.
I see the white wall now.
Yeah.
Yep. He's probably in
the beer.
Hey, Charles, nothing on that foreman. I've been watching Sparky and everything, and he always epoxies all his stuff and smooths it out with like a credit card or something, a spreader, to make it a hard surface so it doesn't get damaged.
Yeah, that's I like Depox. I use that for my fuel tank compartment. That's all. I put Depoxy in there and waited about 5 or 6, 8 minutes, and I wiped it out with a paper towel.
Yeah.
So it has the minimum amount of Depoxy in there, but it's fuel proof.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
So now that I've got I've dug out all my hobby stuff, and I'm working on the Spirit of Saginaw. I'm gonna start working up on. I'm gonna start fixing the Pathfinder.
Really?
Hey!
Go Pathfinder.
I'm just looking at. I've got a whole airframe there, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of beat up, but it's a whole airframe.
You can fix it.
So I figured I got all the. I like dragged out all the hobby stuff. I figured, why not? I'll just like start patching it up. Hey, it's not going to be perfect. Who cares at this point? I've got a couple of. I was going to put in the. I was going to put in the 46VF with a pipe in it. I said, screw it. I'll put in. I have a couple of 45 FSR 45s. I'll drop one of those in there and be done with it.
Yeah, that should probably work, or else you could talk to Philip about one of his 40 VFs.
Nah. At this point, I just don't want to. I probably don't want to mess with a pipe in it. And like I said, I have 245 ABC via OS FSR 45s that don't have a home. So I'll figure out drop one of those in there. I think the VF is like overkill on that airplane. To be honest with you, it's not that big.
Well, no, it's not. It's about the normal size for a 40 pipe ship, though. If FSR The only problem I think what was the problem they had with FSRs that we weren't using? They'd run away. Is that what it was?
FSR ABC
should work fine. You know.
Who taught you the alphabet?
Who, me?
No, Peter.
Peter,
FSR
he's
comes
showing
after
off again.
ABC.
Damn, I can't even turn this thing over. That's how much compression it has.
You back in sync, Rusty?
What'd you say?
Hey, you are. You're back in sync again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on. I didn't do anything to fix it.
Oh, well, you disappeared off the screen and now you're back too. So I thought you got off and got back on.
Oh, really? No, I've just been sitting here watching y'all talk.
I mean, it was like 10 minutes difference or something. You were talking about the heat, how hot it was there, and it's like, damn.
He was answering questions we asked 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I remember Charles said I was out of sync, or somebody said it, but then I wasn't really paying attention, so I didn't know what he was talking about, and so I didn't worry about it. So,
that was really crazy because I asked Jamie about the heat way back when there, how hot it was in Houston. We were talking about heat. And then when Charles said you're out of sync, it was saying you were saying stuff about the heat there.
yeah, it's been 102 a couple of times this week. I think that's all I've said. So
yeah, I mean, it was good 10 minutes out of.
There was a period of time where we lost the stream for 5 minutes before I got it back.
Yeah, you should have heard Steve when we had that happen.
I was in the kitchen when it went down, so I finished what I was doing and then came back in. And
I was
reset.
swearing like a sailor there. I got
Steve,
yeah.
Steve was making up some ground.
I can still hear you guys. Y'all are full of crap.
Let me ask Peter a question here.
Yeah.
Peter, I just wanted to let you know as you get going on there, if you run into problems, just let me know. I'll try to help you as much as I can. Okay?
Oh, yeah, no problem. Okay, yeah, the FSR will drop right in there. Same motor mount spacing as the VF.
Excellent. Okay.
All right, guys, I'm out. I'll see y'all Friday.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
All right.
Take care.
So is that the LE, Peter, or is that the Mark II? Or what?
That's the LE.
Nice.
It's got a bit of work to be done on it. Oh, shit, I'll take care of it.
Nice.
I got all my stuff out at this point. Why not? I've got an airframe. It's 90%. It's like 85% complete.
Looks like you're
started
trying to put
building that in New York, and they moved twice. And it's been beat up by the movers.
Yeah.
I just, take a bigger piece and use it as a pattern and then cut out oversized and set that whole piece in instead of trying to make a piece to fit in the hole.
Exactly.
Ooh, damn it.
Then it usually they'll go right in, no problem. That's what Dan Banjock showed us. It's like I'm trying to sand this, and he goes, "Hell, let me see." Gets a square piece, puts it on there, draws around it, cuts it out, then takes the piece he's around, stuck it in the hole. I mean, that's pretty damn smart.
I remember seeing Winnie do that when he was helped my friend repair a foam wing. He just put a wedge of foam in there in the hole, and then he just cut it flush with the wing and sanded it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he made the whole square, and he just put a square which was kind of fluted, kind of a camper cut on all the way around it, and it just fit in there and it stopped, and he would just cut it flush, and then he sanded it, and it was pretty much filled.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to cut the hole to fit your patch than to make the patch fit the hole.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I always
I usually end up working on both sides until they're about that big around, and then build a whole new section for the airplane.
When I cut the bad piece out, I put the X-Acto in at an angle so that then I take the patch and stand a little angle to it, and it'll sit down in there and won't move around as easy. Jeffrey, you're being awful quiet tonight.
Kind of hard to get a word in edgewise.
Oh, we're talking too much.
Yeah, all you guys talk too much.
Come on, Jeff. Come on, bring it. Talk to us.
You know, the other thing that I do is well, you can jump in there. He's waiting too long. You can take the hole and put a backer. Just take some 1/16 inch by quarter and glue it on the inside of it with a little
shelf underneath it.
Yeah, a little shelf. And then when you set the piece in, it won't fall through. And I've done that a few times, and that's,
Yeah, the shelf is the way I've patched a lot of sheeting.
Yeah.
Walter Hillman showed me making a patch in silk span kind of that way. You kind of go around the inside of the hole with a little backing silk span, lay your piece in there.
That'd work. Yeah, that'd work too. Just got to keep it from dropping down through the hole is all.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be much of anything.
It's like using 1/4 inch plywood to patch a doorknob hole in the drywall.
You know what helps with that, Jeffrey, is you get one of the little door stops you put down there, so the door.
Take a roll of toilet paper; it's cheaper.
They make these nice little metal patches now that go right over it. You just mud over it. I was a drywaller for 40 years, so
I was an iron worker for 31, so we just bolt a piece of 1/4 inch steel to the wall where the doorknob hits it. It seems to work pretty good. Yeah. Kind of hard to punch through 1/4 inch steel with a doorknob.
What I did was, instead of doing a round hole like that, I made a rectangle piece and then cut the round hole square and glue wood on it, stick it through and put white glue on it and bring it out till it dried. It stayed there and stuff, and then fill it. Put a patch in and do it. But yeah, you guys' way sounds a lot easier than what I was doing.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah. I used to cut a hole in a piece of drywall, kind of like a circle. Like if a doorknob would go through, I'd cut a round piece of drywall with a roto zip or whatever, spiral of some sort. And then I'd put a screw in the center of it with a piece of 1/4 inch plywood. It was a little longer than the circle. And then slide it in and slide it over and center it and then hold the piece and then tighten the screw. And then it would drop in and there was an 1/8 inch gap around it roughly. Knowing me, it was somewhere between a 1/16 and a 1/4.
Yeah.
And then I would just mud that in and mud over the screw.
Well, now there's all kinds of ways to do it, but as a professional drywall worker, we had several ways.
Yeah.
Back before we got the nice little aluminum patches, they were self-sticking that you just put on there. You didn't have to use tape. You stick it on there and you mud it in. Fixes them.
There's a little bit of a bump in it and feather it.
Right. But before then, we had holes, that were, instead of having to break out a wall to where we could get to a stud on each side, there was 2 ways of doing it. You could cut a hole big enough and then you'd put a couple pieces of scrap wood behind there with a screw gun, screw it in place, similar to what he was doing. And then you cut your piece to fit in there and you screw those to that wood that was going across it. Then you just tape it and finish it off. Or if you didn't want to do that, you could cut, let's say you had a 12 by 12 hole, you could cut a 14 by 14 inch or 15 by 15 inch piece of drywall, flip it over to the backside and cut a 12 by 12 on the backside, break it, peel the sheetrock
the
off
flap
the
on it?
paper front. You do that all the way around, and then you just mud around it, stick it in place, and you don't even have to tape it. You just wipe the mud out from underneath it, let it dry, and then finish it in.
Yeah,
But
I seen my buddy do it that way.
Yeah, but the
my brother's kids slammed the doorknob through the wall, and his wife was like really upset because they had just painted the house, and she was afraid my brother was going to come home from work and be mad. So she took the hole to open the door, took the hole, jammed it full of this wadded up newspaper.
Yeah.
Got the bucket of drywall mud and just started flopping it in there. No, pretty soon they had a volcano on the wall. It was like, holy shit, I've never seen a sideways volcano in my life. That's cool. And I think I just stirred up the hornet's nest on that one. My brother was livid. We were working together at the time.
What do you got there, Peter?
And one of the reasons I'm going to fix it is I built an entire cockpit for it. This is just the pilot seat.
It's Barbie chair.
That's just a pilot seat.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which plane is that for, Peter?
That's for the Pathfinder LE. I built an entire cockpit for it when I was going to be doing it. And so I figured one of the reasons I'm going to finish it now is I want to put the cockpit back in it.
That looks good.
Yeah.
So that's the seat. I have to find the rest of the pieces. But the one thing that I've noticed nowadays versus back in the day is people don't put cockpits in their airplanes any longer. And I recall Gene Schaefer, Bob Lampioni, any one of the guys. I'm not putting the names off the top of my head. But back when the Spirit of Saginaw was built and was flown, and the guys were doing all those trips, everybody put a cockpit, an actual cockpit in their airplanes.
Right.
Well,
Didn't they have
the
like
junkyard
40
dog's done.
points back then?
Well, they got 40 points back then, but
Yeah.
look at the recent Nats. I believe both the top finishers had painted canopies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait
So
till
you
the
don't
junkyard dog is done.
You're not going to get the points for putting on a full cockpit in it, unfortunately.
Well, no, I beg to differ. So they had painted canopies, but what if one of them actually put a cockpit in?
Well, I'm sure there are planes there that had a cockpit in it, but they didn't. They're evidently most likely their finishing didn't come up to par with the finish that was on the two top ones. So if you can do a really good finish, and you got a guy that you're going to be flying against can do a really good finish, you dang well better put a cockpit in there and do a good job of it, because that's the only way you're going to beat him.
What I'd like to see is a buddy of mine on an RC ship. In the cockpit, the stick moved with the servo.
Yeah.
He made that. Now, they could do that and, or just be a back and forth one in control line.
Yeah, Bob Zambelli does that. He's got
does
one
he?
on
I've never
Starlight.
seen that I'd like to see that in one.
Bob Zambelli's got one in his Starlight.
I saw a scale B-17 that would fly, and as it fly, the turrets would move.
Yeah, scale's a whole nother animal.
Yeah, that's a whole nother animal. But the darn turrets would move, even the ball turret underneath it.
Yeah.
I always thought about putting the head of the pilot connected to the bell crank. So when you move the lead out, the pilot's head would move.
That's been done.
But I thought that would be pretty cool.
That's been done.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the old days of the Navy Nats, when when you'd do special things like that, you were right there when they're assigning the pretty points. And, you know, you could point out these things, you did. And if you're good on your presentation, you might get a few extra points on your appearance points. But that isn't the way it's done these days.
Well, what I liked back during when the appearance points first came out is the judge judged the airplane when it was brought out to be flown.
That was done at times, yeah.
Yeah, that was, if you read the first AMA rule books, that whoever was judging the event put the number on appearance points for that
But
airplane.
when they got to where they had 20 or 30, because they had big turnouts, you know, very, very rapidly. And when they had 30, 40, 50, 80 guys flying, the judge, you didn't have enough hours in the day to do it that way. So that's when they went to where your appearance judging was done separate at a different time.
Well, hey, Charles, speaking of appearance judging, do you remember that kid Tommy that was grandson of, I think it's the owner of Pegasus Hobbies out in Covina?
You talking to me?
No, Charles.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember.
Okay, well, Tommy, I think the guy's name was Tommy. I went out there for a contest. It was probably about 10 years ago. And I was flying one of my typical hangar rashed rags. And he flew this immaculately painted plane. Looked like he had the guy that built the Munsters machine. I can't think of his name now.
Barry.
Yeah,
Barry, David Barry.
It looked like he had George Barris paint this thing. I mean, it was perfect.
Wow.
And not only did he win like 47 points in a 40-point possible view, he put that plane in a truck and he flew what he called Jekyll and Hyde. He had a plane that looked similar to it, but not as good. And it weighed half the weight.
Right.
So he flew, he posed Jekyll and he flew Hyde. And he flew these, his square eights were like, instead of being from the 45 point to the center to the 45 point, his square eights would be like from 90 to 90.
Yeah.
And it was just what we all thought was a horrible pilot. And even Tom Warden was the one that said, Jeff, you flew a better pattern than he did. His just
wow.
Hard. And you don't remember that kid?
Well,
no, I don't.
I'll tell you, it was illegal what he did.
Well, change planes.
Yeah, it was illegal.
Yeah.
Should have called him on it.
Well, guys, I'm going to we'll see y'all Friday.
What are you going to get?
I got to get too. I'm barely making it here. So,
yeah, I saw you falling asleep earlier, Rusty. You was sheets to the wind.
I was feeling really bad for a while there, but I'm okay. I just need to go get some good rest.
Hell, you know, I was wondering if you changed the hangout nights to Tuesdays and Thursdays when you don't have your dialysis. That takes so much out of you.
I got to be at dialysis at 6:30 in the morning on Wednesday and Friday.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, and you hold them on Mondays and Fridays. You know, we can do Tuesdays and Fridays, give you a break on at least one of the day, or do Mondays and Thursdays.
No, but wait, like tonight, Monday and Friday, I went to dialysis today, so I don't have to get up early tomorrow morning.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Same thing with Friday night. I don't have to get up early Saturday morning.
Oh, okay.
Plus, I work on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. You guys might miss me.
Why did you start them an hour earlier, Rusty?
Because we're not through with supper and television and all that kind of stuff that goes on around the house.
And then Charles, he's on 3 hours earlier anyway.
Well, I'm on the same time zone as Charles.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it'd make it like 5 o'clock for you guys.
That'd be all right with me.
No,
I
no.
like it the way it is.
It's 5:45, 5:45 when they. It's quarter to 7 when they come. It's 7:45
Yeah.
for me.
It can be 10 o'clock in the morning for all I care.
Yeah.
I gotta work at
this
10
is
o'clock in the
the-
morning.
Tired.
This is the only thing that works for me is what we're doing now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That
works.
I was just trying to think, you know, you go do all that dialysis, what that takes out of you, then you try to do this
Yeah,
for
it's usually on dialysis days by the time the show starts. I've recovered completely, but I've been having a hard time with it lately, and so just still a little washed out when it's time to do the show.
Okay.
Well,
Tonight.
okay. We'll
All
let
right,
you
guys.
go.
We'll see you Friday.
Yeah,
All right, Steve.
I'll be back all
All right.
bright-tailed and bushy-eyed. So
All right.
yeah, everybody take care, and I had a good YouTube crowd out there. Till a while ago, they finally quit. I wonder if we lost the YouTube feed, but anyway, thanks for coming, and y'all have a great week till Friday. Fair winds, tight lines, and y'all take it easy.
You too.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, Charles.
Yeah.
You should be receiving a box in the mail tomorrow.
Oh,